we begin, we believe it's important to open our meetings by acknowledging the indigenous land that we share. Pasadena City College is a learning community within the indigenous homelands of the people who have been known as the Gabrielino Band of Mission Indians of the Shiichicuanga village in Keach Nation. We acknowledge the painful history of genocide and forced removal from this land on which we gather. We honor all indigenous people, past, present, and future, and their continued struggle, their continued survival and contributions to our society. We also honor the legacy of the African diaspora and recognize that this country would not exist without the free enslaved labor of Black people. We share these acknowledgments to raise awareness about histories that are too often erased or forgotten, to recognize our place in this history, and to affirm our commitment to social justice, systemic change, and anti-racism. Okay. So, now we have the approval of the minutes. Oh, I'm so sorry. Do we have public comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Melissa Michelson.
Yes, thank you. I sent everyone, all the senators, an article that I wrote that got published in the Pasadena Now this week. I feel like there's been a lack of respect and lack of faculty equity at PCC. That's not just apparent to me, but the faculty and staff at large, as seen in the results of this year's campus climate survey, and also the vote of no confidence on PCC's president that was administered to faculty at large this year. And I've seen here at the Senate unprepared or reticent or condescending administrators coming here, and even one expecting our own vice president to somehow serve as her secretary to field our own draft changes. So I was really disappointed, to say the least, and I didn't appreciate that. Sometimes even our own committee chairs have come here expecting us to rubber stamp whatever they put before us, being vague at best or incredulous at worst when we have offered feedback. So I've seen poor and non-collegial behavior that's not conducive to true mutual participation and shared governance, where documents get sent a few hours before a meeting, or that it's not really clear what our purpose is when they come through the circuit, for example, as Crystal Cora said last time, as they go through the shared governance process. So I just want to remind everybody that we're part of the process. It's participatory governance. It's mandated in Title V, and accreditation wants us to have healthy communication with each other, and that's why we're here and why we got dinged by accreditation a few cycles before. I hope we're not, and you don't consider yourselves to be a rubber stamping body, no matter how much it seems that they expect us to be. I would like for everybody that comes to our meetings, not just us, but obviously everybody, people presenting in front of us, not to violate our meeting norms. We have them for a reason, and that's pretty much it. And finally today, after this meeting, if anybody wants to grab a drink at the pub down the street, send me an email during the meeting or talk to me after, and that's it, just so we can break bread or drink beer.
So next public comment is Gita Endor. Is Gita here? Then I will read the public comment on her behalf. Starting the time, I am suggesting that we entertain the idea of having our meetings on Zoom again. As a person with hearing issues, I have trouble ascertaining what reps are saying with masks on. A fair number of reps, none with my particular plight, have mentioned to me that they would prefer to meet online. We could save a lot of mileage if reps did not have to travel to attend meetings, and heading for home during rush hour is not much fun. Those reps still on campus at 3 p.m. could Zoom from an office. The more reps who can attend meetings, the more more equitable we are. Our parliamentarian or their alternate could patch in so that we would always have one at our meetings. An additional and quite personal point, I did enjoy seeing the kids, dogs, and cats on Zoom. Meet to indoor adjunct foothill campus. And are there any other public comments? I think that concludes the public comments.
Okay, and just for everyone to know, just for the record, public comments need to be turned in by 2:59 before the Senate meeting. FYI. Okay, now, I have my agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Margaret. Do I have a second? Okay, Jose, second. Okay, is there any discussion about this? Yes, Melissa?
Yes, I didn't see, no, maybe I didn't look through it fully, but I didn't see, well, last time you weren't here, but there was the issue of the demographics that were going to be put in posthumously into the minutes, the hiring demographics,
Okay.
either into this minutes or to the ones from, I guess for the last meeting. There was going to be a link or someone was going to copy and paste them or somehow include them in.
And
Because
that's
the public,
demographics for hiring, you said?
yeah, the demographics that VP Ramirez brought because the public hadn't been able to see it ahead of time, but when they were on the screen, they were too small. So I think it would be added later.
Okay, I was just informed that Judy Benson sent them to you. I don't know that we were putting those on the minutes, but if someone else would like a copy of that information, I'm sure we can get that to them as well.
Why can't we put it on the minutes?
I don't know that we can't, but we just haven't. It was a specific request, so we sent it to you, but I'm not opposed to it. But again, it would just be, if someone is specifically wants that information, we can email that to them too.
But for the public's sake.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Yes.
If I recall correctly.
Wait, I'm sorry, if this is public comment, or is this about what she said?
What about what you guys said?
Go ahead.
Just to clarify, if I remember correctly, when Judy sent out the email of the attachment, she said that she would get assistance, and if anybody knew how to attach it, then the process would happen for it to be attached to the minutes and board docs. So I think she was still working on the process of getting it attached.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. Okay, was there anything else? Any other discussion? Any, what's going on? If there are no objections, can we approve this by unanimous consent? Are there any objections to approving these minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved by unanimous consent. I don't need to get this, do I? Oh. Next item on the agenda is a constituency report from the FA. Hello.
Hi there. Thanks, Gina. So quick update. We negotiated on Thursday, and we rejected the district's 4% offer. And just to put that into context, the reason we rejected this is because the state provided a 6.5% COLA. And so the district is basically saying, we'll give you 4% of that, we'll keep 2.5% for ourselves. And that's also in light of the fact that we know that the current inflation rate is between 8 and 9%. So that gives you a little bit of justification. We also know from looking at the most current accepted budget that the district currently has a $40 million surplus. That's after they've taken $15 million out of the budget and put it into capital outlay. And that's also in light of the fact that we know that salaries are down $10 million across campus. So it was rather insulting to see that number come across the table, and obviously we're not going to accept that. The other downer was part-time health care. If you pay attention to things like this, you know that Governor Newsom signed AB 190 last week, AB 190 provides that the state will reimburse districts up to 50% of the money they pay for part-time health care. And also, it also sets into place a system in which the district can get up to 100% reimbursement by maintaining certain standards of the health care. And despite the fact that it's been signed, it's in place, they keep putting us off. They've been putting us off since June. They still have not provided any kind of an offer for part-time health care. And now they're putting us off until sometime in October, they say, when they get more permission from the chancellor's office. Why, I don't know. This is particularly vexing for us. We have no idea why they're taking this stance, and it's very frustrating. The other things we're still working on, we are getting movement on some working conditions issues. A couple of the holdups are, number one, the district is requesting that we change the flex program, and we don't feel that that's really 100% up to us, since that's a program that the Academic Senate worked a long time on, voted on, has it all in place, and we signed off on it, and now the district says they want to change some of the requirements. And the other thing is, we have had movement as far as online office hours. We've had little movement as far as non-credit, non-instructional office hours, and we're still holding out on that. And that's about it, right? And now I hand it off to Bevel. He's got an announcement for part-time stuff.
Hi, everyone. Yes, just want to reiterate the disappointment that we felt as adjunct faculty. We proposed a pretty strong healthcare plan in June. Even without getting money from the state, we believe that Pasadena City College should, that it's time that they show adjunct faculty that they care about our healthcare. So we're still trying to be as optimistic as possible that we can get the right plan that we know adjuncts deserve here at Pasadena City College, and really set the bar for all California community colleges. Just one announcement as well, we will have a part-time or adjunct faculty FA meeting this Friday. It's going to be on Zoom. The Zoom invitation has been sent out to your PCC email, and that's going to be this Friday, the 14th, 1 to 2 p.m. So we look forward to as much input from part-time faculty during that meeting as possible. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions for the FA? Yes, Tracy.
Mark, I would like to ask you about the surplus of funds that you mentioned.
Yes.
Were they appropriated for any certain things, or did that money come to us through bonds and that we're supposed to use for specific things, or is it just a general fund?
It's the general fund, general unrestricted fund that is the operations of the campus. And well, a couple of years ago, the board pushed through the idea that they needed to have an 18% surplus, which is 13% higher than is required by the state. And that's $30 million, and we now have $40 million in that account. And that's after they transferred $15 million out of the account.
So for example, is that money making interest?
I couldn't answer that. I don't know if they will, who knows?
Well, it's important, the reason I'm asking, because if you think of $40 million and it's just sitting in an account, not making interest or not invested in A, B, or C, just make up companies, Boeing, Coca-Cola, just maybe the interest off that, you could say that you could give that to faculty. Rather than
I don't think they can invest that. It could be in an account that makes a little bit of interest, but I don't think they can invest those funds.
I think that's something worth investigating to find out legally what they can and can't do with that $40 million, where it sits and how it grows. Because most people, when they have that kind of money, they don't let it sit. They grow it. They spread it. They put it in different areas. Diversify, I guess.
I don't think they can do that.
Are there any questions, any other questions for the Faculty Association? Yes, Jennifer.
I'm new, so just had a quick question about the flex thing that you mentioned. Is
Right.
that related to professional development?
Yes.
And are adjuncts paid for professional development?
Pardon me?
Are adjuncts paid for PD? I'm new, so I'm
No,
just, they're not.
they're not paid for PD.
Okay.
Well, no, they're not paid for PD. If you have to do PD on a day that you would work, like in the spring flex day may fall on your teaching day, then you do that instead of working. So in essence, you're paid to do that, but you're still really just.
Are there, and there are minimum requirements of flex or PD for adjuncts?
Currently at this time, the only requirement is if, like I said, if you teach on a day that's designated flex, then instead of you teaching your hour and a half or 3-hour class, you would have to do 3 hours of flex. One of the things that district is trying to do is to try to say that adjuncts would have a flex requirement. But you would be paid for that. But it's an additional burden. I think that I don't, as the president of the FAA, I don't feel it's my right to say, I think they need to do more, but you should pay them. It's kind of like that should be your choice, the way it is now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. For our adjunct faculty, the meeting that you said that's this Friday on Zoom, if they didn't get the invite or if they have questions, who would they contact?
Contact me directly.
Last question.
Yes.
Just a small detail, and this is either to Mark or Bevel. Is there anything written in any policy where adjunct faculty cannot have a telephone line that you know of?
No, there's nothing written that they cannot, no.
The reason I ask is I used to have an extension for years and years and years, and it was taken away from me, and the person that took it away from me stated, adjuncts cannot have telephones. I think that's odd, so I thought, where is that written down, or what do you guys know about that?
Not that I know of. I mean, maybe IT, I can't imagine they would have that. Usually it would work the opposite way, where they would have some kind of a policy to say you would be able to have one. I know at other colleges, I know, like at, I think it's LA Community College District, there's a general line for adults. You have your own mobile.
See, oh, that's good to know. Thank you.
Melissa?
A faculty member in my department asked about our paychecks, and they're very confusing. She was part-time, but I told her they're also confusing for full-time. Is that something that the FA can insist on, having something that's more clear on
No.
salary and what they
That would not
they
be-
print on
that
their
would be not-
paychecks?
That would not be.
It's not working conditions?
No,
What is it?
I don't know if it's not working conditions. Working conditions are something that's covered under the contract.
Can that be
There's
put
nothing-
in the contract?
Probably not.
Why not?
There's no place to put it. There isn't a section there to put it into.
Okay, so I'm going to recommend for more detailed information from the FA that the senators and any faculty
Contact them.
make sure that you can attend one of the FA meetings.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. So we're going to move on.
Also, can I just add one thing, Gina? Please?
Yes.
If you're interested in seeing the proposals, all of the proposals that are being passed back and forth in negotiations are posted on the HR website. If you go to the HR website under Human Resources Unions, and then I think it's just under Unions, you can see all the proposals, the dates are submitted, and what we put out with there, what they put out there, and what was responded to.
And how often is that updated, Mark?
It's been pretty regular. I think that they missed a week, and we informed them that that should be put in there, and I think they got it in the right way.
Thank you. So we're going to move on now to our adjunct faculty constituency report.
Yes, thank you. So at our last AFI meeting, we discussed the importance of adjunct representation in the Senate, not only in the Senate, but also in college-wide involvement. And we discussed strategies on how to outreach for more adjuncts to get involved.
Thank you so much. I do have a question though. Did you all come up with something to outreach to? I mean, are you currently working on something to outreach to other adjunct faculty?
We throwing out ideas. We have not decided on a date specifically, put our plan into place, but we are in this.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, classified senate. I don't see any representatives, so we're gonna move on to the associated students.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So our lobby committee is hosting a voter awareness day this Wednesday, October 12th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the quad. The event will have local campaigns, tabling, voter registration booths, and free food for all participants. Additionally, we have a new student trustee that will be sworn in at the Board of Trustees meeting on October 19th.
Thank you. Any questions for the associated students?
For the hours of the event again? 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thanks so much.
Anyone else? Okay, do we have someone from the Management Association? Yes.
Hi, Matt Camara. I just found out about this meeting, so this is going to be quick. In the Management Association, there's been a couple of changes. So Rebecca Cobb is retiring, and Dion Miller is our new president, and I'm the new vice president. In our last meeting, we discussed inviting all managers that are not on the executive committee to join the MA. So there's quite a few executive directors that are not serving on the executive committee. So they're going to be invited to join us. That's all I got.
Any questions for the Management Association? Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll go on to the Academic Senate Officers Report, starting with my report. First I wanted, yes?
Comment. For anybody who's a guest, can you put your names on my notes?
Thank you, yes.
Thank you so much.
I don't know if everyone heard that, but yes, can you please let us know who you are, what your name is? It is good for the record as well. So can you state your names? Let me start with Associated Students. Can you state your name, please?
Hanan Coronado.
Thank you.
And from Management Association?
Matt Camara.
Okay, thank you. Now on to the Academic Senate Officers Report. Starting with me, the president, I wanted to publicly thank Sheila Rose and Armia Walker for holding it down while Lena and I were in Ghana. As usual, it was a spirited meeting, and I'm glad that you all helped them get through this. Also, I wanted to give a brief, very brief report about Ghana. It was an amazing experience. It was transformative. Candace Jones and Carrie Boland were exceptional leaders on that trip to help us navigate through the ups and the downs. But it was an amazing trip that I think that our students would really benefit from. The students that went, they did also had a very transformative experience. And Dr. Dean, there is a chair right on this side if you want to.
Thank you.
And that is the end of my report. Now we'll go on to the Vice President's report, Armia Walker.
Okay, so really quick, there were questions brought up about the data Dr. Ramirez shared. It is in an attachment on board docs for anyone to view from our last meeting's notes. So if you pull up the minutes from last meeting when Dr. Ramirez reported out, it's an attachment, and you'll see it whoever is wondering, and just click on it and all the information is there. Okay, also, I reached out to committee members in regards to questions that were raised last meeting as well. So we should have information for you next meeting in regards to which committees are still accepting volunteers, because I know people had questions about that. Also, in regards to information items being posted ahead of time, I was advised from two entities on campus, one from the president's area and from the board of trustees, that typically only agendized documents are attached when they're put on board docs. And just on a note, a personal note from us, we don't get informational things always like in enough time to put on the agenda. And so, I know there was a request to get things, way ahead of time, but a lot of times, like in the case of the last meeting, like I was given information, shortly before the meeting, because as of right now, it's not required. And again, those are the practices from Board of Trustees and from the President's office, to only put agendized attachments on the agenda ahead of time. Lastly, I've just been hearing mentioning about PD, professional development, and I just want to remind everyone that the Vision Resource Center is open to full-time and adjunct faculty. There were a lot of questions about, about equity, about, a lot of different things that have been presented in PD and things that are being held as priorities by the California community colleges. If you go to the our homepage at PCC and you click on staff and faculty, further down it'll say Vision for Success webpage, and you click on that, and under their resource center they have a wealth of information if there's something anyone wants to look up in regards to, we talked about putting racial equity at the forefront. I know there was a discussion about other forms of equity, but we are doing our best to be in line with the Chancellor's Office, with the California Community Colleges, as that is our governing body. So that's all I have. That's it.
Okay, so do we have a secretary? I'm sorry, we had a question?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Hi. Question about, or maybe it's for the secretarial part, I'm not sure for which, but I know we have a lot of new senators here, and also divisions have been shifted and faculty moved to different places. I wanted to know what the breakdown was of faculty to senators and how that got tabulated this year.
We can do that for a future agenda item. I can bring that for you. I have it, just not right in front.
Okay, Lena?
Okay, thank you. 3 academic Senate representatives are needed for the calendar committee. Please forward your recommendations to Dr. Gina Lopez. And please share with your students that the next Career Communities event will be taking place tomorrow, October 11th, from 11 to 2 in the Krevling to highlight careers in liberal arts. Breakout sessions will also be happening across campus, including a session in the terrace room at 1 p.m. about the Library Technology Certificate Program. Judy Benson will forward a flyer to all senators.
Do we have a treasurer's report?
We do. I'm just going to read them into the record to save time, so I won't show the screen today. So we have a whopping increase in our business savings account from $19,222.14 to $19,222.93. So that's a 79-cent increase. Our checking account has moved from $897.94 to $1,032.65 for an increase of $134.71. While this is on the positive side, it does indicate that we are not receiving very much in dues from the Academic Senate, and so that will be something that we will be fundraising for this year. And so our total increase is from $20,120.08 to $20,254.65 for an overall increase of $135.57. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Rose. Okay, I received a message. Our next items are information items. I received a message from Dr. Olivo. Unfortunately, she will not be able to be at this meeting, and I don't think she sent a representative. So we're going to move on to Dr. Ramirez.
Hi, everyone. So I just have one announcement and just a few recognitions. I want to thank all the faculty and staff that participated in the career community event last week. It was very successful. A lot of students participated, as well as our Science Saturday event. So we're in Saturday 2, and we had a lot of great participation from our high school partners as well, our students. And then the announcement is that we have extended the faculty hiring application to Wednesday. So if you needed more time, we do want more applications. Remember, I shared the FON numbers last time I was here. So we do need to hire quite a bit of full-time faculty. So we've extended the deadline to Wednesday. So I'm hoping we get more applications. That's all.
I have a question.
Sure.
So Wednesday being
This
day after
Wednesday.
tomorrow? Okay.
Yes, the 12th.
Do you have an idea about how many we have in so far?
I think as of before I came here, we had about 25 applications.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Miller. Any other questions for, Dr. McClure?
I just wondered, how long will faculty have to wait to hear whether they've been approved or not? What's the timeline?
So we do have a timeline. I can share it with the Senate leadership, with President Lopez. But the first part of the process is we receive the applications, they get compiled, they get sent back to the Senate. You all have your committee meetings convened, prioritized. It goes to the deans as well. We do a process as well. Finally, the president makes the decisions on the final rank list. And the hope is that we can start working on announcements so that we can kick it off very early.
Okay.
So I don't have an exact timeline, but I can get that back to all of you.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, people from my division are like, when do we find out? And I was like, I don't know. Yeah, okay.
We need to get those applications in.
Yeah.
25 is not a lot. I got you just a minute, Lyman, but I saw Dr. McClure's hand.
Thank you. Was there a time for Wednesday, a specific time, or is it till like 11:59 p.m.?
5 p.m.
5 p.m.?
Yes, please.
Okay, Lyman?
I think this is specifically from the math division. I think our glorious leader, Carrie, has already submitted our request. Is that correct?
I don't have the list. I don't see it. But I can send a confirmation to the division dean so they know what we've gotten, what we've received.
That's all good. Thanks.
Yes, Shannon.
Hey, I know there was a request last time for the numbers about how many full-time faculty hired or previously adjuncts. Have you looked into that?
Yes, thank you very much. So, as you recall, this last semester we had some dean's retreat as well. So I did not include those. So out of the remaining 18, 5 were previously hired as part-time faculty here.
Are there any other questions for Dr. Ramirez? Okay, thank you, Dr. Ramirez.
Okay, next on our agenda is the Faculty Development Committee update, and Ken Simon is not feeling well today. He let us know that he will not be here today, so we'll have him come at another time to update us on that committee. However, we have Dr. Christina Salazar-Romo here, hi, who is going to talk to us about the e-syllabus resolution.
Wonderful, thank you.
And I apologize, I left Dr. on your name.
Please don't apologize. I'm Christina, always. Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you for having me today. I did forward 2 documents to the Academic Senate for you all to please forward for review and revision and editing. The first one is an e-syllabus, equity-minded syllabus, concourse e-syllabus resolution. We are asking for the academic Senate support of the usage of our equity-minded syllabus. There are several reasons why that we are recommending it. Just so you know, the process has gone through consideration from our DE faculty committee to working group, writing and rewriting and adding. It is a living document, so we do need eyes on it all of the time. And many thanks to folks in this room. I see Carmen here and Catherine here, Dr. Sheila Rose, who were instrumental in getting those revisions updated. So if you can please share that with all colleagues across campus, I would greatly appreciate it. Awesome, thank you. Hi, Armina. This would be the 3rd version of our e-syllabus. The 2nd version We wrote during the time of COVID, so a lot of the language there needed to be revised, quite frankly, to kind of cover all of the modalities that we are now teaching, our face-to-face classes, our online classes, and now our hybrid classes, along with the addition of several student services and resources, including our parenting support that we now have. The Lantern Pantry is now on there. So again, as we continue doing amazing work, that just needs to be edited. So I would greatly appreciate just some feedback in the hopes of that being a supported document and artifact for our campus.
Okay, I wanted to also tell the senators, we got that information on Saturday, which was after our deadline. However, so it wasn't part of the board packet. However, Armia Walker is pulling it up for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and so this is a sample, thank you so much, sample revision. So this would be our third revision of the e-syllabus. It doesn't look greatly different. There are several additions, one including a land acknowledgement. This is a factual land acknowledgement, and I find it fitting that today we are honoring our Indigenous Peoples Day, and so we just wanted to recognize that we are on the unceded land of the Gabrielino Band and Mission Indians, so that is just up there, front and center, along with our campus information. Our welcome has remained the same. Our How to Reach Me covers, again, the various modalities, including a Zoom link, email, voicemail, etc. And these include prompts and nudges for our faculty for them to consider as they are drafting their syllabi. Yes, hi.
I could be the only one, even with glasses, I can't read that. Is there a way that you could enlarge the font a little bit?
I can try.
And then you're going a little quick, and thank you so much. If you could go back up to the top where this is a recommended, it's a land acknowledgement?
It is.
Is that different than the land acknowledgement that we do in this meeting?
It is shorter. It is a sentence. It is still recognizing the name and the land on which we practice as an institution.
I would just like to throw out, why can't we have that with the Pledge of Allegiance for the United States of America? There's never, I'm not seeing any references to the country from which we live in, which is the United States of America. What happened to that?
This report is for information only. So if if this report she's given is information only. So if there's unreadiness or issues you have, we can document them, send them to her via email, but in this forum, she won't be able to, interchange and give you a reason why. Those suggestions, I'm sure, she would solicit, which is what she's doing now, saying it's a working document.
Right.
She's soliciting those suggestions. So by all means.
I would be happy to email suggestions.
And I'd be happy to read them, but of course this needs to represent our campus and also our mission as an institution.
I know, but we live in the United States of America, and I just don't see, it's a fabulous country. It's literally like our mother. She houses us, she feeds us, she gives us money.
I'm going to continue, again, this is informational.
Right.
Time.
I'll email you. Great.
Okay, so we have run out of time for this. Don't leave. I would need to have, thank you, Margaret, to extend by how long?
5 minutes?
5 minutes. Do I have a second? Talene, second. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we can approve this by unanimous consent. Another 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. I am going over it quickly because of course this is just for information and for review. This is always open to discussion. However, we have looked at it through, again, various lenses. As I said, the welcome is staying the same. It is welcoming the student into our space. The How to Reach Me just focuses on instructor accessibility, how the student can best contact the instructor. We're also adding some common reasons when a student might reach out to a faculty member. Sometimes that's not always known, and we want to be sure that we are giving some specific examples for our students. For the class overview, we are asking our faculty members to give a brief overview of the course, keeping in mind the student audience. We don't necessarily want the language from our schedule of classes, but really a summary. As a prompt, again, this is just a prompt to kind of nudge our faculty to think about connecting students' lived experiences with the course content. And this is mirroring some of the language in our institutional mission and values that we now have towards social justice. We do want our instructors to communicate with students what they should do to be successful, as opposed to what they should not do. This is not a place where we should have a litany of do not do this. The rest of the stuff is auto-populated, which is really nice. And this gets inserted to all of the e-syllabi. SLOs also are locked, automatically get imported into the e-syllabus. The materials, again, this is just an instructional element for our instructors. So we are asking our faculty members to please center the voices and life experiences of your students by amplifying Black, African American, Latina or X, Indigenous, and Asian Pacific Islander Desi American students. And also a nudge to consider OER or open source materials. Again, this is a suggestion where instructors can place whatever content that they would like. This is, again, just a nudge. Assignments and grading, so this is where we would like our instructors to put clear expectations for students. We want our instructors, or we would like our instructors to utilize positive statements, again, and getting away from that litany of negatives in a list here. This information is locked, and this was written by Mark Sakata and our DSPS faculty colleagues as required. We do have a revised and updated student support services list here with the addition of our Title IX supports and resources that was given to us by Megan Stoudenruss, I believe is her last name. We did also add for our students to follow at PCC Lancers because we do know many of them are very active in social media. Our college policies are also here as well, specifically academic integrity and student conduct and course attendance. So that is all. There are some optional, I hope that's very clear, in green, optional informational items here about PCC Connect. And then also in some of the syllabus workshops that I have given, many have asked for my COVID statement, and this is optional as well. So that is it for the draft. If you can, again, please disseminate to get as much feedback as possible. The resolution that we're asking for consideration is really focused on how the e-syllabus meets the parameters of Section 508 and Universal Design, how it automatically populates some of our information, including our course description, important dates, meeting times and modality, and also student learning outcomes, where it is a preliminary learning artifact that informs our adjunct and incoming new full-time faculty, where it aligns with our mission and institutional values of PCC being an equity-minded learning community, where it covers and interprets PCC policy, including academic integrity, student conduct, and attendance, where it provides information ensuring a holistic approach to student support.
Time. Okay, I need a recommendation for, a motion for extension.
I move we extend at least the same amount of time that our presenter is speaking, the same for us all to ask questions.
That's out of order, yeah, that's out of order. We can entertain a motion to extend by 5 minutes. So moved. Seconded? Have been properly motioned and seconded. Is there any unreadiness?
We need the names.
Dr. Harvey Stevens?
Adjunct counseling.
Okay, if there are no objections, We can approve an additional 5 minutes by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we are approved for 5 more minutes. This is our last extension.
Of course, I could probably do it in 2. I'm almost done. Thank you so much. I'll just continue in the summary of the resolution. Whereas the equity-minded syllabus provides prompts to encourage faculty to center the experiences of Black, African American, Latina OFEs, Indigenous, and Asian Pacific Islander Desi American communities in their curriculum and pedagogy. Whereas the equity-minded syllabus encourages faculty to use open educational resources and zero textbook cost materials, where faculty are encouraged to customize the equity-minded syllabus and may also supplement the syllabus with their personal syllabi, as long as they are ADA compliant. Resolve that the faculty will provide students with access to the equity-minded syllabus and Canvas, and resolved the Pasadena City College Academic Senate supports the use of the equity-minded syllabus in our Canvas course. That is all.
Okay, thank you. And we will take some questions. I'm going to start here with Catherine.
Yes, thank you. So we're being told that we have to include the Title IX information. Was that there? I'm sorry, I didn't see it, if it was already on there.
The Title IX information is included in the resources under Title IX supports and resources.
Okay, so it's linked. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Melissa?
I have 3 questions. One is about the resolution. Why is there a resolution? Like, why does there have to be a resolution? Where is this coming from?
So this was an ask through DE from Dr. Thea Alvarado and then also Dr. Laura Ramirez to have it shared with the Academic Senate so that we all can be on board and know that this is being done. So, excuse me, not being done, but suggested and implemented in our learning management system. So it's just for transparency purposes.
Okay, my second question is the RAVE student alert up there in the list of resources? I think it might have used to be because I've showed it to students. If it's not, it would be great if it's there.
Okay, thank you for that feedback.
And my third question, I guess, is I saw a draft of this in the past and there was some religious language in there that was a little bit, I thought, out of place. Do you know what I'm referring to? Or I guess when I see the document, I'll look at it and bring it up. Because there was a point last semester where I think people were asked to give feedback and somehow I saw that. So I gave feedback in one of the documents. And then I guess my other one is in the non-credit area, the e-syllabus, those dates right there, if you just go right there. Yeah, they may not align, and so I told the dean for the 8-week classes to make sure that it's updated. Are you on that end of it, or does he need to go through somewhere else? Because it would say 16 weeks, and I'll tell my students, no, that doesn't apply to us, or something like that.
Yeah. So that would be a back-end info systems request. That's not something that I would be responsible for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Russell?
Yeah, I just was wondering, these will be available to us via board docs for this coming week?
Yes. And I believe it will be coming back to the Senate for first read. Yes. Okay.
And we're welcome to share once we get the link with our divisions.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's how we did it the first time around.
Yeah.
It was track changes, collaborative discussion, and moving forward that way. Thank you, Anna.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Thank you so much, Christina.
Thank you, Dr. Lopez. Thank you for having me here this afternoon, everybody.
Okay. Next, we have a calendar committee update by Brian Wilbur.
It's nice to see you all here in person rather than just a few tiles on a computer screen. To see the real human beings in the flesh. I'm here as your Senate representative for the calendar committee. I don't have any calendars to share with you explicitly by design. I've emailed 8 calendar options to Judy Benson, and she will distribute those to you for your perusal following the meeting. The gist of it is that the calendar committee has, over the last year, put together 8 calendar options. They vary in their bones of contention, as we call them, but we put together 8 calendar options that the committee is more or less comfortable with. The bones of contention for you to hopefully discuss with your constituents are the start and end dates of the fall, the start and end dates of the spring, the position of our flex days, and whether we have a winter and summer intersession or whether we have 2 summer intersessions. So accordingly, these 8 calendars are mixtures of all of these various options. Please take a look at these in your constituency meetings and be prepared to discuss at further Senate meetings or with your groups. Another major point is that the 2023, 2024 calendars are already decided. The next calendars to be decided that the committee is working on right now are the 2024, 2025. Those are the ones that have yet to be discussed. But I would also point out that the calendar committee is an advisory committee. We come up with calendar options that we then forward to the president and the cabinet here at PCC. What we need to do is send 2 or 3 calendar options that the calendar committee is comfortable with at your behest and at the behest of your constituents, that we then send to the executives, and then they will make the ultimate decision. One minor issue, the calendars that I sent to Judy Benson have one minor error. November 20th, a Wednesday before Thanksgiving, is listed as pink, indicating that it would be a non-class day, but that's not included within the list of the days off. So exclude November 20th as a day off. That was the earlier discussion point that ended up being moot. So that's all I have.
Okay, considering this is an information item, are there questions or comments? Yes, Bevel.
Yes, I wanted to ask, what is the possibility of the winter session returning for 24, 25?
It's up to the executive committee here on campus. It's up to the president and our cabinet. Again, the calendar committee is an advisory committee. So you take this to your constituents, come back here and we'll discuss, and then the calendar committee will make those recommendations to the executives.
But regardless of what the committee recommends, the final decision is still with the administration.
It's with the president and the
Is there a deadline for this recommendation?
The president has to call on you, I think.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Fire away, Lynn. Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Is there a deadline for the recommendation? I mean, when is the time?
We aim to have one in as soon as possible. We spent more or less the last year putting some calendar options together because all of the calendars are settled through the end of 2024. We want to start moving so we have a couple of calendars to promote so that we can start getting ready for the 2024-2025 academic calendar. We're on track. We'd like to think that we're still ahead of schedule. But in regards to the deadline, we don't have one yet, but we don't want to get close enough to the point where there is one. So we want to have something for sure by the end of this.
You want comments as soon as you can? You want feedback from the different divisions as soon as you can?
Yes, so again, take this to your natural sciences division and discuss with your constituents there so that they can be prepared to discuss elsewhere.
Thank you.
Okay, I have Anna, and then I'll come back to you.
I seem to recall previously being solicited like a vote of some sort among the faculty to vote on a calendar when we got rid of winter in the first place. I don't know if I'm misremembering or if anyone else remembers that. So is that going to be something that we'll do prior to sending it to the president?
If you care to do so, I guess I would encourage you.
So that's incumbent upon each division as opposed to faculty-wide?
My understanding, I am new on the calendar committee. I'm starting my second year, and that decision to do away with winter was before I was on the calendar committee. But I would also encourage you to discuss the pros and cons of why there's a winter or 2 summers with your constituents in your division and decide what best serves students first and foremost. And then,
Yeah, no, I was just curious if there was an intent from the committee to solicit faculty-wide vote, or if that's just for the Senate to do, for the senators to do.
We'll start within your constituents and we'll move from there.
Oh, okay.
Colleen, and then Melissa.
How
much student voice representation is in, I know there are student reps on calendar committee, how many, like in terms of ratio, and are they also part of the executive decision?
I'd have to look at our role. We're supposed to have 2 or 3, but we're bereft of committee members right now. We're a little short. But within the last school year, we had a survey that went out amongst the students, and their voice was brought to the committee, and we've discussed these options, and their feedback has been put into these 8 calendars.
I would also suggest reaching out to the different student advisory groups that represent our students along with associated students, since this impacts them the most. I know it impacts executive level in terms of funding, but I'm just saying that it impacts them. So I would say perhaps they're for low on student voices.
All right, we can just entertain a motion to extend by another 5 minutes, so we can. Jeff?
Seconded by
Second. Melissa?
Okay. If there are no objections, we can approve a 5-minute extension by unanimous consent. Any objections? Seeing none, we have another 5 minutes.
Fantastic. I was kind of hoping you'd let me off the hook.
Or not.
Or not. Or was that the last question?
No.
No. Melissa had a question as well. Done.
Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, the final decision lands with the Board of Trustees, right? Because I remember years ago when the calendar committee did away with winter under pressure from the then president, it went to the Board of Trustees and they decided yea or nay. In that case, they agreed. Is that right?
My understanding, and again, I'm new on the committee, is that the president and the cabinet make the decision and then the board of trustees approves or doesn't. That's my understanding. I might have to come back to you on that. You're welcome to shoot me an email and I can be sure about that. But the key for our intents and purposes is that, again, we are the advisory committee.
And then I also like the idea of you as an advisory committee getting advice from faculty across the campus in addition to us doing that work. I like what my fellow senator said about doing a campus-wide survey. So.
I would proffer that every semester we do a campus-wide survey. We do a lot of campus-wide surveys. We've got scads of data, and it'll be yet another survey. We are putting these into the calendars. We've put that advisement into these calendar options, so we want to see what you guys think at your constituency meetings.
Oh, and one last thing. When are your meetings? So we can ask people to attend, because they're public too, right?
Our meetings are Wednesdays. We do it one Wednesday every month at 2 o'clock. Our next one will be this Wednesday.
Are they on Zoom?
Yeah, they are on Zoom. And they're on board docs.
Okay, Lyman.
I just wanted to clarify something. So there's a mistake on the calendars?
Yeah, so there are 8 calendars. Calendars 1 through 7. Pink boxes are used to indicate days off. And November 20th, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, is marked in pink, but it's not included as a school holiday. So
it's the pink part that's the mistake.
Ignore the pink part. November 20th is not being proposed as a day off.
Okay.
I tried, but that's not going to work. I tried desperately, but the calculus doesn't work out.
Thank you.
One last question.
Dr. Stevens.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure on the calendars that were sent out, was the Juneteenth holiday that the college approved added to the new calendars that were sent out?
I don't believe that was done by the time those calendars were approved, but that's done, signed, and sealed. It'll be on the calendar. That's not something that we're deciding or not. It's done.
Any other questions for Brian Wilbur on this matter? Okay, thank you, Ryan. We appreciate you being here. Okay, now on to old business items. And I have Carol Curtis and Colleen Durapian are going to be talking about AP 3050.
Adjustment to the agenda?
That has to be done at the top of the agenda. Are you not ready?
I wasn't aware that I was supposed to.
Gina, I think at our last meeting, Carol indicated that she wouldn't be meeting with her committee until after this meeting.
Okay. then we'll move forward. We'll table it. Actually, I need a motion. I'm not aware.
Second.
So Russell, Talene Serapian, just for the record, made the motion to table this item, and it's seconded by Russ. Okay, are there any objections to tabling this item?
That was the academic freedom item?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, just to clarify.
Are there any objections to tabling this item? Seeing none, this item is tabled. We're going to approve this by unanimous consent. This item is tabled until our next meeting. Moving on, AP, BP, Public Records, and this is by Crystal Kolas.
What's the point of information?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Point of a question.
Okay.
Ready? My question is when we see, because a lot of us are new here, and I've talked to fellow senators, and we're trying to gather and trying to figure out when we see these BPs and APs, what happens from here? Where do they go? Do they all go to the same place in the shared governance process? And are we here, is this just advisory, or are we here to give feedback and have changes implemented based on what our constituents have brought to us?
On our APs and VPs, and please correct me, those of you who have more historical knowledge than I do, on our APs and VPs, we do have input when they're set for us to vote on them. We do get to input on that. Where they go after, it really depends where they are in the process, but all of them go through the same process and they end up at College Council. Am I correct with that? So I hope that answers your question.
We do formalized votes on these as they come through.
We do. Like today, we could potentially vote on the AP and VPs that are here. Okay? Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, Crystal.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. Hello.
Any questions?
This is our second read. I'm sorry.
I would like to correct one thing. Bevel, you asked me a question at the last meeting, and I answered you incorrectly, and I'd like to rectify that. So you asked me about the quantity of requests that we get, and the answer to that question is we get about 30 or 40 public records requests in a year. And of those, I talked to Leanne Flashberg, who handles these for the college. She said in her time here, she's maybe charged for 1 or 2, and only because they wanted paper copies and they wanted hundreds of them. So she said, most of the time, there's no charge. We just do it and move on.
Okay, were there any, give me just a moment, is there any other discussion on this AP and VP? This again is a second read. Melissa.
The fee is managed by the Assistant Superintendent Vice President of Business and Administrative Services, who will annually review the fees as needed. Which fees? The fee is managed by that person who will review the fees. What does that mean?
Well, it really just means that she's the final say at this point in time. It's a she. She's the final say on whether we actually charge a fee or not. And she's also the final say on whether we charge the duplicating fee.
But annually?
Yeah, so well, one of the things that she will do is she will review the new laws that get put in place regarding public records requests. And those have been really tightening up with regards to what we can charge. So it's her responsibility in her position to review those new laws coming down and make any recommendations of what we can charge and cannot charge.
So then can we just say annually review the fees with the law, or just what you said would be perfect? Review the fees with, as the law permits or something like that.
I can do that. I can make that change. Could you send me the words that you would like, and I'll see what I can incorporate?
Sure. And then my next concern is the same, a little bit of vagueness here. in their, may reduce or waive the fee in their judgment, depending on financial hardship being demonstrated by the requester. So what would that look like? Like bank account statements, or like what criteria will this person be using?
To be honest, Melissa, it's been kind of a non-issue because we just don't charge. You know, and
So
I
then
know.
if it's a non-issue, we could strike that
Well,
paragraph.
I mean, we could, but we would probably ask the question, but for the most part, we just don't charge.
I mean, it's nice that that's there for offering financial hardship to requesters, but there's a lot of wiggle room so that, and it's not clear what that is for the requester. Can you make it more clear, like?
I'm not really sure what we could do, because like I said, for the most part, we don't charge. But we don't actually want people making frivolous requests either, asking us for hundreds and hundreds of pages just because they want some.
This is about getting the financial hardship, like proving financial hardship.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. If someone comes in and says, oh, I have a financial hardship, I want 1,000 pages of documents, you're gonna have somebody who's gonna make a call on that. And again, I'll just go back to it. They were really clear with me, and they said, this is like a rare, and if they'll take it in digital format, we won't charge at all. It's only if we have to produce paper copies in the hundreds.
Okay. I'm ready to entertain a motion for this item. Yes.
Make a motion?
To approve
Yes, to approve.
with revision?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, let me say, that was Russell DeFiore who made the motion, and a second by Margaret. Is there any discussion on this item? Yes, Melissa.
Just to be super clear, it would be, that revision would be something like, who will annually review the fees as per the law. I forgot what I had said now.
Well, if you think about it and you send it to me, I'll add it in and I'll bring it forth to College Council for consideration.
I just want to say, make sure that that's okay with everybody.
What we did say, and I'll entertain a motion, there's a motion on the floor. What we did say is that it would be approved with revisions.
And the revision would be something about referring to the law.
You're going to send it?
Yeah.
Lyman?
I was just gonna say, if you want something, it'd be like, just review the fees as to be compliant with.
Compliant with current law?
Yeah. How about that?
I'll send that out.
Okay, is there any other discussion on this matter? Okay, if there are no objections, we can approve this item by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, this item is approved by unanimous consent.
There's additional time needed on this, we ran out of time during the motion vote. So if
So-
there's additional time needed. If there's additional time.
I think there may
needed,
be, because we have some questions.
We'll need another 5-minute motion. Stand by 5 minutes. Tracy, thank you.
And seconded by who?
Sure. I thought we did that already.
This is for the extension, 5 minutes.
Right.
Second.
Okay, sure, I second that.
Lana.
Okay, are there any objections to extending this by another 5 minutes? Okay, then we can approve by unanimous consent. You have an additional 5 minutes, and Lyman has a question.
So we did just vote to approve these, right?
Yes.
Okay, and both the BP and the AP?
Yes.
Okay. So these 5 minutes are for,
You had a question.
no, that was it. I was just like, I want to make sure that the BP and the AP were both simultaneously.
Yes.
Okay, so it's my fault that we had an extension, all right.
No blame here.
We have,
Just process.
Hey, there's no blame like self-blame.
we have a few more minutes if somebody wanted to ask a question. Okay. If there are no other questions, thank you, Crystal, but don't leave. Yes, go ahead for now. Yes. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
Don't go away too far. Okay, next we have the equity plan revisited with Hui Dang and Dan Nguyen.
afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm here for a second read for the student equity plan. I am open for questions. One of the things that I wanted to highlight in the second read is that we did add additional data tables in the appendix, because we did get a lot of feedback about questions around other groups that had equity gaps, and we wanted to provide as much information as possible. So as Sheila is loading it up, and we have Dan here this time to just go over them, and thank you so much, Dan, for all the work that you've done on the data tables. But we did want to just highlight a couple of new things that we did add for the second read, which includes the appendices on our Black and Latinx students, all years available. So it tells you the trend of not just within the last few years, but I think, yeah. Yeah. So this gives you a snapshot for the last 10 years for students, so it's not just something that happens in 1 or 2 years. We also have the breakdown of annual outcomes or targets for each student population that we're reviewing, as well as at the very end, we had a couple requests for seeing which other groups, this is an old version. Sheila, I feel like this isn't the version that
It's a second read at the top. That's the one I got today.
Huh, okay. Well, I think in the link that you all had, there is an additional document that talks about all other groups that experience equity gaps. So I will look for that in this one as we're talking. And we are open to any questions that senators have.
Bevel.
Yes, thank you. Based on the data that you have right now, is there a specific target? So, for example, if the equity gap is, let's say, minus 4% right now, do we have a target of like 0%?
Yes,
or?
we do. So if you look on every single metric, it has a target for each one. So either we'll eliminate them and close the gap completely within our 3-year period, or we'll close it significantly. So each team who was in charge of each metric looked at the equity gap, and depending how big or small it is, we made targets to what we felt were reasonable, as well as inspirational, meaning like we were reaching far, but also being reasonable.
And just lastly, because everyone knows I'm passionate about this, so I'm not going to spend too much time. Do you believe there's a direct correlation between hiring faculty of a certain ethnic group and reducing the equity gaps of these individuals who come from that demographic?
Yes.
And reason, just before you answer, we had requested some information from the VP of Instruction in terms of our hiring here at PCC, and it showed that of the 22 faculty, new faculty that were hired, 2 of them were from the African diaspora. Do you think PCC needs to look at that in itself? How we hire, who we hire, what demographic? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that an African person should get the job over a more qualified person from another ethnic group. I'm just saying, at what point do we see it as a problem? Because so far, obviously I see it as a problem, but if I'm just, and obviously I know other people see it as an issue too, but if the campus doesn't see it as an issue, how far do we really get in terms of reducing the gap?
I feel like that's absolutely, we feel like equitable hiring is a huge strategy in closing gaps and representation and ensuring that our student population is reflected in our staff and faculty population. So in the student equity plan, there is a section that talks about interrogating our hiring practices and ensuring that we are disaggregating data in particular for our Black and Latin hires.
Yes, Jeff.
Hi there. So in counseling, we brought the document forward to the department and got some feedback that I wanted to bring forward. There was some concern around the way the document refers to what is in the document called the Hispanic, Latino, Latina, and Latinx community. Some folks were concerned about Hispanic being a term that may be outdated or offensive to some. So, you could entertain a change to that. That was one request. And then also, the document usually includes the Latino, Latina, and Latinx clarification, but sometimes it doesn't, so there could be consistency. So sometimes it only said Latinx, and that was sort of exclusionary, it felt to some. And so if you could include that where it's missing.
Absolutely. I think that was just a clerical mistake because we did do that. And so if there's anything that we're missing, we'll run through it one more time.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, Jennifer.
Yeah, I just had a question. We haven't brought this to Social Sciences Department yet that I know of. But I was just wondering if, I love all of the ideas about collaborations between student services and instructors and things like that. So if I do get inquiries from the department when I put this out in terms of like, oh, I want to be a part of this, I want to help out, where would I send faculty to be part of this? Because it's exciting and I want to get everyone excited about it, but it's sort of like, what's the next step for faculty?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure, as the executive director of student equity, you can always contact me as a point, as the contact point person. But it really depends on what that faculty is interested in, whether it's in professional development, whether it's outreach, math and English. And so as the point person, I can help direct them to the particular area that would be most appropriate.
So, thank you.
Melissa.
I was wondering what was incorporated in terms of my concerns that I brought up last time.
Yes, what I was just mentioning, Melissa, was that we did added all the other groups that are experiencing gaps. In terms of some of your comments on the document, including different matrices, we are bound by the Chancellor's Office to only work on those 5, and so in terms of additional ones, that is something we can do, but it's not within this particular effort. So we're more than happy to do that. And within the IE dashboards, you'll find different equity gaps that are beyond the racial equity gaps. But within this document and within the matrices of the student equity plan, we're bounded by the template of the Chancellor's Office.
Is that what you just said? It's specified in the document somewhere?
Yes, it is. Okay. We did add it in page 6.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Yes, Shannon.
I'm not sure exactly if this, but I'm new here, so I apologize. But I'm wondering, to Bevel's point, would it be possible for us to write a resolution to then make recommendation to the college that when hiring is happening, if qualifications are equal, that we should select a person of color?
That doesn't fall within the student equity plan today, but that is something that you would probably want to bring back to Academic Senate.
If senators want to work on a resolution, it would have to be then vetted and voted by this board if we move forward with that resolution. But it's something that we can either, someone can write up and we can say yay or nay to. Any other questions? Okay, are we ready to vote on this item? Dr.
Yes.
Rose?
I would like to make a motion to approve the student equity plan.
Okay, do I have a second? Margaret? Second? Okay, is there any discussion on this? Yes.
I just have a question. Do we have an equity subcommittee part of the Senate?
The Student Success Committee is a college council, so it's a shared governance committee, so it's not just limited to faculty, it's faculty, administration, classified staff, and students. And that committee, the Student Success Committee, oversees the equity plan.
Thank you so much.
Is there any other discussion before we vote? Yes, Jeff?
Just as I report back to my department, so will there be a change to the way that?
No, we can take that out. I mean, Dan, I think that we were using Chancellor, that we included Hispanic.
Yes, so the Chancellor's Office uses Hispanic. Latina, Latino, Latinx is a term that's used here at PCC. So in the sections that I worked on, I use Hispanic or Latina, Latino, Latinx to be all-encompassing of how anyone would want to identify under that umbrella. So I don't know if there
Thank
was
you,
like
that's great. I appreciate it.
Just a moment.
No.
Okay.
No, we have the motion with revision.
It is.
That's what the motion is to approve. So the original motion on the floor, which was made by Sheila, is to approve as it stands or with the revisions?
With revisions, sorry.
Okay, so with revisions, awesome. Okay, if there's no more discussion, are there any objections to approving this equity plan with revisions? If there are no objections, we can approve it by,
Oh, I didn't know if you're just going person by person for a vote. So if I vote, I'm not voting for it.
so you're not, so it's not unanimous, we cannot do it by unanimous consent. With that being the case, you're not voting for it, correct? Okay, with that being the case, we'll need to do a roll call vote. And that would be with Lena Hicks, whenever you're ready.
Okay. All right, Tracy Bodish.
No, it's yea or nay.
Okay.
Let me be clear on what you're voting for. A yay is yes, we approve this with revisions. A no is no, we don't. Thank you.
All right, Catherine Chang. Yay. Yay, thank you. Bevel Constantine. Thank you. Shannon Maragi. Yay. Yay, thank you. Moira Armstead.
It's Mariah. Yay.
Mariah, sorry. Yay, thank you. Let's see, Douglas Cook.
Yay.
Thank you. Melissa Michelson. Thank you. Talene Serapian.
Yes.
Thank you. Jeff Hupp.
Yay.
Thank you. Carmen Stevens.
Yay.
Thank you. Tim Elnarek.
Yay.
Thank you. Let's see. Taryn Solberg.
Yay.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Anyone else happening? Catherine McGuire.
Yay.
Thank you. Margaret Bowles.
Yay.
Thank you. Jose Castañon.
Yay.
Thank you. Lyman Chiefy.
Yes.
Thank you. Russell DeFiore.
Yay.
Thank you. Jackie Duvall.
Yay.
Thank you. Jessica Igo.
Igo.
Sorry.
All right. Yay.
Thank you. Lee O'Connor.
Yay.
Thank you. Don McClure.
Yes.
Thank you. Jennifer Holden.
Yay.
Thank you. Let's see. Anna Krishka.
Yes, yay, sorry.
Thank you. And call Gina Lopez.
I don't vote.
You don't vote. Okay. Armina Walker does not vote.
She does.
Yay.
Yay. Thank you. Sheila Rose.
Yay.
Thank you. Felix, yay.
Did I miss anyone? Okay.
Can we have to tell?
Yes. All right, we have 23 yeas, 1 nay, and 2 abstain.
Okay, that passes. So we have a new equity plan. Thank you, Wei. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're on to new business. APBP 5700, Crystal Colross.
Hello again. So I will say that I am a very big sports fan, but I did not edit the revisions to this BP and AP. I sent it out to the people who know these things. So I can kind of give you the big oversight, which is that we had to change the name of the association we belong to because they changed their name, so we changed that. And the big thing in this, which is really in the AP, is the addition of the section on name, image, likeness, and athletic reputation, which was something that came out of a Supreme Court ruling, I believe. So we had to add a section on that, and I had Bones and Dion work on this for me. Bones is gone, but we have a new athletic director. And also Dr. Androgenis worked on this because she actually sits on the California Community College Athletic Association Committee. So she's been an officer on that, so she kind of knew a little bit about it. So I can try to answer questions, but honestly, I don't know a lot about name, image, and likeness. I understand why we have to do it, but that's about it.
This is a first read. Are there questions or suggestions for this APBP? Okay, Melissa.
So, in the name, image, likeness, and athletic reputation section, it says that for prospective student athletes, the district will not give compensation. And then later, it said at the very bottom, it says that a student athlete's scholarship eligibility will not be impacted as a result of the student earning compensation for. So I'm confused whether or not the student can or cannot earn compensation.
They can earn compensation from their name, image, and likeness, and we will not hold that against them for their college scholarships. And the top one is that the college will not compensate them for name, image, or likeness. That's the way I understand it.
Oh, I see. So if they get money from an outside source, it's not going to affect their scholarship.
That's my understanding.
And point of information, so the name, image, and likeness is, the whole purpose was so that college athletes can make money in endorsements like professional athletes. But the district, the college is not going to give them any money for their image and likeness, but Nike might. And so that's where it had to be stated, why it says the district will not provide compensation, but they can receive it from the outside, the sponsors. And it won't affect their, it has nothing to do with, it's bifurcated from their scholarships and stipend grants.
So any other question? Yes, Tracy.
Thank you. I just had a couple general questions. Is GPA calculated in eligibility for student athletes?
So asking the wrong person. We need to have the athletic director here for that.
Oh, okay. I'll hold my questions.
Actually, we have an answer.
Oh.
Yes, GPA's, yeah, a part of it.
Thank you.
That's what I thought. So is it, do you know if it's set by the state or does PCC get to make that?
It's under the CCAA, so we follow their rules.
So there is a minimum GPA of 2.3, is that what we go by?
Mm-hmm.
And is there something that makes a student athlete ineligible where they can't play sports for PCC?
There's quite a few things, yeah.
If it's GPA wise, no. Like if they're above 2.3, they're good.
But like in terms of athletic performance?
What I can do, Tracy, is I can ask Dean Miller to come to our next meeting at the second reading, and you can ask some additional questions there. I don't want our senator to be.
Got it. I understand. Thank you so much.
Okay, yes, Melissa.
What about can the district make any money from the student athlete?
Other than ticket sales from people coming to, like a normal university, got a giant football team and people come and pay tickets and buy shirts, and that is sort of off of the athlete, which is the nexus behind, the catalyst behind why the name, image, and likeness was changed, because the people who argued for the athletes said, hey, the schools are making millions of dollars off of us playing and my face and my name on jerseys, and I can't eat. So this was enacted into law so that students can make money off of their name, image, and likeness, just like the schools make money off of their name, image, and likeness. So I don't know that it's personally off of an athlete, but it's definitely because they play for that particular institution.
But if the school decided to put the picture of that athlete on a banner, on a flag or something around campus or on the street, is that allowable?
Okay, before you answer, I need a motion to extend Lyman by 5 minutes. Thank you. You have a second? Jeff Huck. Okay, are there any objections to extend this item by 5 minutes? Seeing no objections, we can approve this by unanimous consent, and please go ahead with your question.
I got the question. So yes, that happens all the time, yes. So like you see a banner, a football game, baseball game, the athletes, if I'm not mistaken,
They sign a waiver.
They sign a waiver that the school can use your, if you hit a home run and they put you on the website hitting the home run, I mean, the student doesn't have an argument to say, hey, I don't want my picture out there. I mean, most of them don't object anyway, but yes, that happens frequently.
It's just now they can make money off.
Now they can make, yes, exactly.
But not paid, but the school will not pay them.
No, the school doesn't, no. Nike wants to sponsor them, or Adidas, or, they're about that three-stripe life, or whatever it is.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, this is a first read, and we will ask Crystal.
No, we won't.
We will ask someone to come back for our second one.
Dean Miller, the athletic director,
Miller,
much
yes.
more qualified.
Thank you, Crystal, we appreciate that. Okay, moving on, we will have our academic senate goals by Sheila Rose. But before Dr. Rose speaks, I do want to say that I got a number of suggestions for our Senate goals. However, several of them were not within our 10+1 purview. They were working conditions, or they were things that we were already doing, or they were very lofty. And remember, these are our goals for the year. We don't want to have goals where we won't be able to achieve them. We want to have achievable goals that are manageable, I know, right? That are manageable or achievable within our academic year. So I want everyone to keep that in mind. No slight, no shade, no issue. However, some things are outside of our purview. Okay, Dr. Rose.
Sorry, I'm just pulling up.
Then I'll keep talking.
Yes, please do.
Okay. Again, there were some great suggestions. However, some things were very lofty. And we are still trying to complete goals from last year. So I just want everyone to keep that in mind. Don't feel slighted. Yes, Melissa.
I'm just wondering where the document is, because if you're projecting it and this is our first time seeing it, how come we didn't get a copy of the different goals drafts?
Well, those were sent to me. I did not put them out to everyone because I didn't have to. But also what Sheila is going to present on is something else. If folks want to know what those goals were, I brought copies so that I can read them. But again, most of them were outside of our purview.
This is new business, and so this is the first time we are looking at our goals. For those of you who were at our Senate retreat, which was most of you, which is wonderful, you will remember that we read 3 texts that we were using to inform and align our goals to. And so the first of these was the academic and professional matters, which we refer to as the 10+1. Just as a reminder or information item for those of you who were not at the retreat, PCC currently only has the 10 academic and professional matters that we have agreed to. A +1 is a specific topic that must be negotiated each year with the administration and the Board of Trustees of the college. So we do not at this moment have a +1 negotiated. So what is under the Senate's purview are the first 10 items that we can see here on the screen, and if you're anything like me, you need it to be a little bit bigger. So just to kind of reacquaint ourselves with what is the purview of the Senate, I'll give you just a minute to read over those. Is this big enough, or does it need to be bigger? Okay? Okay, thank you. Any questions? Yes.
I'm wondering about the +1. It seems like if we are in agreement about a +1, that we could agree on it now at this point, right? Or
Yes, and we do have a suggested +1 that came out of the Senate retreat, and so I'll present that in a second. The other thing to keep in mind with any +1 is that the Senate is a shared governance body, whereas the union is the body that oversees anything that's considered to be a working condition. And so anything that we do negotiate as a +1 still has to fall within the realm of what is considered shared governance versus what is considered a working condition, okay? So just a little clarification. Okay, so any other questions about the academic and professional matters, which we always abbreviate as the 10+1? So Jeff?
Just talking about number 8, I was interested to hear that the union was approached by the district to govern that area. So why would that be part of our contract if it's listed here as our 1 through 10?
Okay, great question. Sometimes it's like a Venn diagram and there are areas of overlap between what is the Senate's purview and what is the union's purview. And when that happens, the Senate and the Faculty Association have to come together and agree. And so I was part of the Senate executive when we revisited actually I think we created a new flex policy. And because we had to figure out how faculty were being compensated for participating in flex, then we also had to include the union, and it had to also be part of our contract and not just a policy. So great question, Jeff.
Thank you.
And then we have a rule where we ask new people and then come back to people who've already asked questions. So Melissa?
Yes, so since we're not voting on these today, this is the first read, would you please bring along, when we see the draft of these, would you please bring the language from Title V about how to go about doing number 11 and mutually agreeing on between the Senate and the Board of Trustees?
Sorry.
No, there's a mosquito over here, so I've been.
We got gnats over here.
That's what it is. We're not funny. So yeah, we'd love to see your.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure exactly if it's Title V or Education Code or if it's just statewide, but I have heard it at Academic Senate Plenary, so I will find that information and share it with the Senate. Thank you.
The source, the actual source would be great.
Sure, yeah. Okay, sorry.
Shannon had a question.
Yes.
Before you go, Shannon, I'm sorry. We need an extension for this. Okay, I'm gonna go Margaret for the motion and Tracy for the second. Sorry, Lana. Are there any objections to an additional 5 minutes for this item? Seeing none, we have another 5 minutes.
Two parts. The first one is, although it's called a +1, it doesn't seem like it would have to be limited to just one single, from whatever I can see online from the Academic Senate website, that we could have multiple, correct? Or
I would need to double check, but if my memory serves me correctly, I do think I have seen colleges that have had more. But I need to double check before that goes into the record.
And the other part is, I was curious about this, like the Venn diagram, because sometimes when an issue is particularly pervasive, it seems like it might be good for us to take it up in tandem, the union and the Academic Senate. And I saw online that when collective bargaining became law in 1975, 1976, the senator who wrote it into SB 160, Senator Alan Rada, he wrote that nothing contained in this chapter shall be construed to restrict, limit, or prohibit the full exercise of the functions of any academic senate or faculty council, to imply that academic senates should not shy away from acting on matters that may also be taken up by the union. So I just wanted to
Okay, so
put that out there for everyone.
there's a more recent assembly bill, AB 1725, and I would have to check, it's either 1986 or 1987 that it was passed, and that's when these academic and professional matters were established, and according to education code, we do have to stay within these. So unfortunately, there's a more recent law that trumps that.
I'll look into it, thank you.
Okay,
But you'll
thank
bring
you.
that since we don't have the language.
AB 1725?
Bring all
Yeah,
the-
yep, sure. Okay, so,
I'm sorry, Sheila.
yes, yep, sorry.
I wanted to clarify for everyone that, please remember that the +1 is for the year. It has to be negotiated. It's not something that sticks for the rest of eternity. It's negotiated annually. That's it.
Okay, thank
The
you.
10 or the 10?
The +1.
Yeah, the 10
Yeah,
or
the 10
The 10
are
are,
the 10s, yes. Okay, so thank you so much. So at our last meeting, at our retreat, we reviewed our Senate board goals for 2021-2022. And we acknowledged as a Senate that while we had made, I can make it bigger, sorry. Let's see if does that do it enough? I can go bigger.
No, that's
Okay. So we acknowledged as a Senate that while we had made some progress on our 21-22 goals, that in a pandemic, we were kind of in crisis mode, and it was not the easiest thing in the world to achieve such aspirational aims that we had set for ourselves. So I did want to highlight areas that we did manage to make progress. So we kind of have retired this goal of establishing a Senate Social Justice Committee to advocate and support social justice work on campus, because that committee was established and is working. We also have a couple of goals that are currently in progress. So the first one, the development of an anti-racism policy for the college. That work is currently being undertaken by our Social Justice Committee in conjunction with others. And it is working from the anti-racist resolution that we passed as a Senate, and trying to take it. A resolution is something that just exists in the Senate, and we want something that exists at the college level that kind of is bought into by all constituents, right? Administration, faculty, students, and classified staff. And so that would have to go up to the policy level. So that work is in progress. And then the other goal that there has been significant work on is Goal 5. So the Student Success Committee has formed a working group, that is currently looking at all of our student impacting policies through an equity lens using equity-minded guiding questions that were developed by the committee. And so we've managed to revise a number of policies, including the one on probation, and we have fortunately removed that language. And I believe we're the first Senate in the state to do that. So a little pat on our backs, right? And that work is still undergoing. We're currently looking at the attendance policy through an equity lens. So what we have not addressed are goals 2, 3, and 4. So the working with the College Council Outcomes Committee and the Senate GE Committee in order,
I'm sorry, we need another extension.
okay.
Yes, Lyman, extended by 5 minutes. No, we can only do 5. And a second by Anna. Okay, are there any objections to extend this by another 5 minutes?
Hey, just one moment. Didn't on the agenda it say this was 15 minutes?
No, this is
No,
a
that was the
5-minute
equity
item.
plan.
Oh. All right. Never mind.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Are there any objections to approving an additional 5 minutes? And this will be the last extension.
Yes, so I'm gonna get through these fast, promise. Okay, so,
If there's no objections, we can approve this by unanimous consent. Seeing none, 5 minutes.
okay, thank you. So we still need to implement a anti-racist and liberatory institutional learning outcome. We also need to work for professional development in order to increase awareness of anti-racist practices. And also we added, based on the conversation at the retreat, for actualizing liberatory education, which was one of the other texts that we read to increase our understanding of liberatory education. We also want to work with the C&I committee in order to work on actually creating anti-racist and liberatory curriculum, right? If you've got an outcome, you've got to be able to achieve it through curriculum. So those are our current goals that we would advocate re-adopting. And then the Senate exec, in conjunction with suggestions from the senators during the retreat, are suggesting a new goal of negotiating a +1 related to hiring in order to implement race-conscious hiring practices. And an example of that would be cluster hiring, which is the practice of hiring not a single individual from a racial group who then could be very isolated, right? But to hire multiple individuals from an underrepresented race when they're coming into what we have historically, which is a predominantly white institution, right? A PWI. So, do we have any suggestions for this goal? Yes, Melissa.
Thank you for suggesting these goals. I'm wondering about what goals the senators have sent to you. I'd like to see those. And I think within this body, we could discuss whether or not they fall under 10+1.
Okay,
so maybe you could provide the goal and then it doesn't fall under it and why not? Because I'd like to see what other senators have brought forward for this list for our goals.
Okay, so this was also suggested by a Senator Bevel, right, in particular?
I can't see it, but it's okay. I believe you.
Okay. And then the next goal was also suggested by a senator and sent to me. I have shown the goals that actually are under the purview, perhaps, like at least partly, of the Senate. There were other things that were not in our purview.
I understand, but I'd like to see all of our goals that we have submitted to you. I know I've submitted 3 to you, but I'd like to understand why those don't fall under 10+1.
Okay, yeah.
So goal, no, it falls under it, and why not? Goal, yes, it falls under it, and why not?
Okay. Okay, so these are the 2 new goals on the floor for us to discuss.
This conversation will continue. We only have like 4 more minutes on it, or 3 more minutes on it, so we'll continue this.
Okay, so any feedback specifically about the hiring goal? Okay, and then the next goal is about diminishing equity gaps for faculty. And I've included it because I think that there is some area where this can be addressed, but as you can see, this is an extremely broad goal, and I think we would need to refine it to make sure it falls within the 10+1.
Lyman.
That second one is a very long-term goal. And if you're looking at short-term, 1-year things.
Yes, I agree that we have inequitable practices, right? Depending on what type of faculty you're categorized as, those are often structural issues nationally and statewide. Not that we shy away from those things as a college, right? We certainly don't with our student equity goals, but we probably would need a starting point. So, yes.
One starting point that we could have is we could form some working groups to identify any inequities that exist between non-instructional and instructional faculty, between credit and non-credit faculty, between full-time and part-time faculty, just to identify those and to maybe even identify in the policies of the college wherever there's a difference made between one or more faculty groups. Is that difference made for like a neutral reason that reflects like clear facts of differences, or is it made to give privilege that doesn't need to happen like that? I mean.
Okay, Shannon, I'm gonna need you to cut that off and let Sheila respond because we're out of time.
Okay, sorry, Shannon. Thank you for that suggestion. And I think that since we're just seeing these now, that it's appropriate for us to bring them back to our constituent, to think about gathering feedback, to bring our suggestions for refining them for next time. So thank you, everyone, for your input. Much appreciated.
We'll get these links somewhere.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay, and for those of you who did send, well, I think I got 2 people who sent something to me. Some of them are really great suggestions that don't necessarily need to be goals, but it's something that we can actually put into place right away. For example, someone asked, Melissa, if you don't mind me saying with you, said that senators should be trained on the PCC shared governance process, like Robert's rules, the bylaws, etc. And that's something that we can do. It doesn't necessarily have to be a goal. It's something that we can do very, very soon. Okay.
Yeah, some of them were action items,
Yeah.
so we didn't include them as goals. We just thought about who we would farm those out to do.
That was a great idea, by the way.
Put an action item and a goal, maybe next time.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, give me a second. There's my agenda. Okay, so now we have consent items. I'm going to ask the Academic Senate if we could take the subcommittee appointments and do one group appointments approval, but I would need someone to motion that. Yes, Jose.
I move to combine those two into one goal.
Yes, do I have a second? Yes, Melissa? Okay, are there any objections to approving these by unanimous consent as a block? Okay, seeing none, these are approved. Congratulations to those who are on the subcommittee. Now for the hiring committee, I'm going to ask the same thing. Can we approve these as a block? Thank you so much. Lee, that was Lee. And a second by Margaret. Are there any objections to approving these by unanimous consent? Okay, seeing no objections, these are approved. Okay, moving right along. Are there any proposed future agenda items? Yes, Melissa?
Let's see, I have a few suggestions. What happens to SLOs after we input them? Where's the college data from, I don't know, from when we started, or maybe pre or post-COVID, or at some point until now in eLumen? Because I know that there's a change happening in the programming, or the computer program you're going to use, but it'd be nice to know how the college is using the SLOs that we've been inputting all these years.
Okay.
And then my second idea was, I'd love to know what's going on with full-time faculty training, the new hires. In the past, I believe the committee came and shared a syllabus and maybe what they're doing in those classes, how many students, how many of us new faculty are there, and included in that would be survey information about how the previous new faculty appreciated or liked, or what changes they'd like to make.
Okay, thank you for putting that on my radar, because you did send me an email about that, and I will try to get them here ASAP, the new faculty coordinator. And the SLO data, I will talk to Crystal Colross. I don't know if that will be at the next meeting or the following meeting, but I have it in my notes, so thank you for that. Are there any other proposed future agenda items? Yes, Jessica.
So several faculty members in our area have expressed questions and concerns about how the rave alert system has been updated, how it's supposed to work, what is going on with that, and I don't know exactly how to find that out and report it back to them. So maybe we could have some information about how that is supposed to work and where to go if you have questions or problems.
Yes, we can bring someone back. I want to say police and safety can handle that as well. But yes, I have that noted as well. And just so you know, the suggestions that you have may not happen in the next meeting, but within the next two, I'll do my best to get it on the agenda. Okay, any other suggestions? Great suggestions, by the way. Yes, Beth?
One kind of question, suggestion, is that okay?
For a future agenda item?
Somewhat. Yeah, it's related. It's related.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's an issue that the bylaws committee needs to review first before it's brought to the Senate for a vote, are we able to direct that agenda item to the bylaws committee? How does that work?
It's not an agenda item. What you would do is you would contact whoever the chair is of that committee, and you would tell them this is what we want you all to discuss, and they'll take it from there.
Okay. Can you tell me when the next bylaws subcommittee?
Cannot, because I'm not the chair of that committee, I'm sorry.
On the
But
website.
I can find out. Okay, are there any are there any other proposed agenda items? Yes, I'm sorry. Melissa.
Not necessarily that, but a couple of things here, like the e-syllabus and the goals.
Wait, I'm sorry. Do you have a proposed future agenda item?
Kind of, well, just wondering when we'll get those documents so we could share it to our departments.
They'll be available for the second read. The Thursday before, this is gonna sound funky, but the Thursday before our next meeting. Does that make sense? Yes.
Get them beforehand, because we want to give it to our divisions.
Well, if it's not approved, and if we still have I see what you're saying, if you want to use suggestions if you want to get feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, we can have that out to you early next week. Wait, this is Monday, so maybe late this week.
Judy's already emailed me.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure that it gets out to all of the senators. Thank you. Okay, yes.
Item, I think an update from the Social Justice Committee. We were hoping to come to the Senate and just give some updates.
Yes, I have them on the agenda for next meeting. Thank you for that. Yes, Dr. McClure.
Some folks in my department, we were discussing, because the numbers are now available for individuals when it comes to equity in a classroom, but we did not have like a consensus or like a clear understanding why some folks is higher than the others. So we're trying to determine, if we can have somebody clarify on how equity is tabulated it kind of mentions based on maybe it's like drops or something like that. Because I know for some of us, when it comes to like grading, we do try to give students a longer time. Like if you know, life happens and we're like, hey, I'll meet you there if you can come back. And sometimes they don't come back, but that is sometimes in equity lens, when you look at it, it's actually a negative on the report. So we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we make sure our numbers stay up, but also how can we meet students there? So we're just trying to get clarity on, like, do we need to make drops before the W or is it before, right? Because if that's the case, it reflects negative on us for trying to go out of our way to help students to get them through the class. Does that make sense?
Yes, and we can have Dan, who was just with Dan Wynn, we could have her come and explain that to us. Okay. Like I said, may not have all this on our next agenda, but I'll do my best. And Bevel, please stay after so that I can just clarify what you were asking for the agenda. Okay, are there any announcements?
I'm sorry. I was asked on behalf of someone else just to let you all know that the meeting for the calendar committee has not been posted on board docs yet. So it was stated that it'll be on Wednesday, but not on board docs yet.
Okay, on the message. Is that the announcement?
Yeah. Awesome.
Are there any other announcements? Okay, we almost did it. 5 minutes over, sorry. I am looking for a motion to adjourn. Okay, Colleen and then Russell, I'll let you second. And if there are no objections, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
I'll contact them directly.